Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome once again to another live stream. This one is a very special one. It's called IPSA Kind of Magic, and it features IPSA members led by our esteemed chairman, Doff's Cap, Hamish McLay of Search and Convey, the current chairman of IPSA, the Independent Property Search Agency Professionals, I guess. An association. There we go. Association. That's it. You confused me by putting association at the beginning, you see. Um, but Heather, you are also an esteemed member. Are you the director? I'm not sure.
I'm the current chief executive as of earlier this year.
Fabulous. Right. And together, Hamish and Heather are forging ahead. We had a wonderful Members' Day, which I was privileged to be at. I think it was generally full of bon vivant and an upbeat messaging. Hamish, today's topic is forging ahead into the future. United we stand, HM, Land Reg and IPSA. What say you?
Well, in fact, perhaps we can go back to our Members' Day. That there were a couple of interesting announcements on Members' Day, but there was also something because we had two of the representatives of Land Registry who were able to come along, but they weren't able to say anything in reality because, of course, we were being a government-associated body, they weren't permitted to sort of publicly sort of claim to anything at all. However, the fascinating thing was that was the day on which we're able to celebrate the 100th council to actually sort of be loaded onto the Land Registry sort of platform, which means all of that information from 100 councils now can be accessed straight away, which means there's no lead time involved. We can actually go in there, get that information, refine it. Now that in itself is an achievement, but more to the point, what we actually sort of found, and we had to wait after, and there's some enhancements. I mean, Heather might be able to confirm they were due to take place overnight. So yesterday eve, they were meant to sort of happen. I'm not too sure. Heather will confirm for us. But what it does mean, because of the way in which we've been able to sort of work with Land Registry, and they've listened to us, they've made it so much easier to refine that information. And I have to sort of say this, and it's so very important that we have Heather here today, because it was her that was maintaining the records to be able to pass the Land Registry, which enabled them to update matters on our behalf.
Wow. So if it wasn't for sweet Heather here, we'd be up a certain creek without a certain implement.
Well, Heather, it's very nice of you to say so.
Heather, welcome once again. So here we are discussing the ever closening relationship between IPSA and Land Registry.
It's been a rocky road, I've got to admit. We started this process a long time ago when Land Registry first announced that they were planning to digitise the land charges registers for over 300 local authorities. And as people that work with the local authorities with land charges, we were quite concerned about that at the time because every local authority registers their charges in a different way. However, once we knew that it was going to happen, we said, right, we'll help Land Registry to get this register as accurate and consistent as possible. And from that day, we have worked with them. There have been frustrations. The first successful migration was Blackpool. It was Warwick on the 11th of July 2018. So just over 6 years ago, the first one. It has taken 6 years to get to just 100. So there's another couple of hundred to go. But they are getting better at doing it. Obviously, the more you do something, the better it gets. And yes, last night there was an enhancement to the service, which I have checked this morning. It is working. And there are it's working. There are 4 elements that Land Registry have made changes to, which makes the service better for us to use. So the first is that now each time you do a free search, there is a unique search reference number which we can take a note of, which means we can revisit that search in the future if we need to. The second is that the results are shown in full rather than you having to click a button to show the results. Thirdly, the information is copy and pastable. I haven't checked that element of it. I checked everything else. But the most important enhancement is that there is now a thumbnail plan showing the extent of each charge, which makes it easier for us to make a judgment as to whether that charge applies to that property, which is something that has been lacking. So that's the most important and most beneficial enhancement.
Wow. So it all seems to be on the move.
Definitely. There are, that's not to say there aren't still some improvements that we would like to see. Now I know that Jamie Winch and Callum Moffat that we speak to regularly, they won't be watching at the moment, but they are going to be watching this later on, I'm sure. So I would like to thank them for their help.
Well, before you say anything further, I want to break in and immediately say a messaging from Michelle Poller. Not the only ones will be up the river without a pedal, without Heather and our support and assistance. So somebody appreciates you. And then of your latest assignation, she went woohoo. So there you go.
Fantastic. Well, that's really nice to know. But yeah, there are still things that need to be done. Although the register that has been migrated is consistent in terms of the speed and in terms of the cost if you choose to buy the paid for service, there are a lot of inconsistencies still, which we regularly talk to Land Registry about. So Jamie and Callum, who will be watching later, they know what I'm going to say. Basically, there are local authorities that register, for example, Section 38 agreements, which are to do with highways. They will register them as a line in the middle of the road, and there are others that will register them as a polygon, which covers all of the properties which are affected by that Section 38. That's what we'd like to see. Because
that sounds much more logical, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's ongoing work. So there are plenty of things that can still be done, but let's keep this positive. The enhancements that they have now made proves that they're listening to us, proves that they're willing to work with us, and I'm much more positive going forward that we can end up with a register that is workable.
Michelle's in fine fettle. She immediately said, "That's amazing, especially the thumbnail." Did anyone else assist with this, or just IPSA?
Well, I'm really glad Michelle asked that question because no, it was really just IPSA members. And there were some other search firms, but there's no other body that has been involved in these enhancements, as far as I'm aware. It's been very much IPSA. Our executive board and, of course, our members have been providing information and feedback to help HM Land Registry get this sorted.
Wow, Hamish. Appears that we are IPSA on the move.
Well, IPSA always have been on the move, but we've tended to be a little bit quiet in the background because not a lot of people. It's quite interesting when we make a comparison. There is a group which is called PLAG, which doesn't sound too hot, but it is actually the Property Lawyers Action Group, and they're working very, very hard.
A PLAG on both your houses.
Yes. Yeah. But these are property lawyers who are working very, very hard to get that professionalism back into the conveyancing side of things, because there are challenges, there are difficulties within conveyancing, and they're speaking about that and they're trying to achieve that.
Didn't we speak to someone on Property Matters from the Property Action Group?
We did indeed. So they're working very hard to actually sort of remind people that, hey, hang on, these people are important to the process. And right. So far, nobody has actually stood up and sort of said about professionalism. Those that are carrying out the actual local authority searches, they are professional people as well. And they have very often been overlooked in this particular sort of process, which everybody's trying to sort of introduce. And of course, what IPSA are trying to do and have been doing for a time is to actually remind people that there is professionalism, and we can actually show that. And I think it's demonstrated we're the only organisation that have worked directly with Land Registry to actually improve the facility which is available. And what it has enabled us to do, of course, it's cut down dramatically on the lead time. And that's paramount. However, all of the information, as Heather intimated, it isn't necessarily refined data. There are bits and pieces here which don't add up. There's duplications and all sorts of. And what we're working hard to achieve, and what these enhancements by Her Majesty's Land Registry, like particularly with Jamie and Callum, as we mentioned, because they work closely with us, what they've been able to do is get the information to us, and with the enhancements, make it much, much easier refining that data, which means we present to the solicitor a more effective report because all of that's been taken out. And that action is not carried out necessarily by all researchers, by all search agents. However, it's a principal part of what IPSA do.
Definitely.
Wow. So what's next, Heather? Where do we go next?
Where do we go next? Well, we'll still be working alongside HM Land Registry on enhancements and improvement, and we will keep lobbying for accuracy. As I said, there are discrepancies in how the entries are registered, and I think Land Registry are planning to do more education on this about best practice. They're in a difficult situation because then there is no legislation which allows HM Land Registry to say to a local authority, you must do it this way. And that's a shame, because that would solve an awful lot of problems if that legislation was in place. However, what they can do is they can say, well, this is best practice. This is the best way of doing it. And, they are doing education in that way. What we as IPSA are doing, and we've just started this recently, is we're now holding competitions amongst our members to nominate the best local authority, because we feel if we've got local authorities that are doing a great job, which many of them are, let's celebrate those and hold them up as an example of good practice to the ones that aren't being quite so helpful. So that's a campaign that we've recently started at our Members' Day, and the winner on that day was Barnet Council.
Hooray for Barnet!
Barnet, yeah, they did a very great job, and they returned a local search for one of our members within 4 hours for an urgent case, which was pretty amazing. So they won the prize, which meant our member, Barty Boover of Whitefield Legal Services, she won a bottle of wine for herself, but more importantly, she won a little hamper of goodies that she can now forward to Barnet Council as a thank you for their great service. And we're going to be running that again now. So it's going to be an online version next time, because obviously when we did the Members' Day, it was only those in attendance that were able to vote.
I have a small idea for you.
Oh, actually. Do you?
Yes. The idea goes something like this.
Mm-hmm.
The council who win, if one of their representatives could be invited to come upon this channel,
yeah,
we can help promote the fact that you are actively talking and dealing with them, and that they are doing good things in return.
What an excellent idea. Yes.
I thought of that one.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. We'll invite the winning local authorities.
You know what they say? Up there for thinking, down there for dancing.
Very good.
Thank you. But no, I thought, what do you think, Hamish? Do you think that might both help the council to gain some recognition for the fact that they actually do some good things?
Well, absolutely, because some councils do recognise that we are working in partnership with them in trying to achieve the appropriate results. And of course, it is one of the challenges as to what has happened with Land Registry take over responsibility for the, if you like, the place to actually approach to obtain information on land charges. That particular work is no longer provided by the local council, although they maintain the records. So they are losing an income relative to that particular aspect of what they're doing. So they're being put under a bit more pressure, because in many cases, because of the funding isn't there now, because they are not receiving, they've had to cut back on their staff within those particular departments, which is putting even more pressure on those particular sort of councils. But as we sort of see someone like Barnet Council, I mean, we've worked with them in the past. I mean, they've always been good, but we've never noticed them being that good. But it does show the close relationship that Barty and Sharon at Whitefield Legal Services have been able to develop, particularly with sort of Barnet. But they're like that with all the councils that they are working with. And IPSA members tend to be like that. And we do want to promote, we do want to work, we do want to assist. And in some cases we can, because by refining information, we can see those errors and we can actually get back to the council and ask them to amend it, because it's something they wouldn't necessarily have noticed because they haven't had the time to look at it as in depth as we have. So that partnership is so very, very important too.
I think the world needs to hear some good news about council interaction. I think there's a lot of negative press for councils throughout the whole country, and if we can do some way of showing that they are trying to work well, that's why I think this competition is really good. It doesn't just help your members feel like they're making best efforts to interact with the council, it shows the council that people actually care about the fact they're making the effort at all.
Yes. In fact, what was interesting as well on the Members' Day was when we announced to members that we were doing this competition, they were, quick, give me the paper. I want to fill this in. I've got a great council. And, that was, it was really lovely to hear, because we do hear a lot of bad stories about, rightly so, because there are councils that are obstructive, that are difficult. But it's really nice to hear some very positive stories. And
it's nice to redress the balance a little bit, don't you think?
Absolutely. So no, it was really great to hear some very positive stories, because I think actually if we looked at all the councils, it's quite a small minority that are difficult. They're the ones that get all the press because they cause so many problems, but a lot of them have got some really great members of staff there that have fantastic knowledge, are really keen to assist, and yes, we should be celebrating that.
Well, look, it just remains for me to say thank you very much, Hamish McLay from Search and Convey, and of course, Heather Poole-Gleede of Shropshire Property Search, both of which are fundamental to the continued good running of IPSA. If any other IPSA members would like to appear here alongside myself and Hamish, where we can talk about some of the work they're doing, perhaps highlight some of the areas they find most difficult, and even talk about those councils they've worked well with, please just approach Hamish and we'll put you on the list. You can pop along here, and I'm sure, as you can see, it's a really good way of promoting what you're doing. Until the next time, thank you so much, Heather. Thank you so much, Hamish. And to all of you out there, keep your feet on the ground, but reach for the stars and look after that mental health. Bye-bye.